What advice, David, this is for you, would you give regarding getting finance with a limited credit history or personal resources? Okay, you're a new small business, you're giving it a go, but hey, it's the first time you've done it and you don't have a house to mortgage.
I think the first thing I would say is if it's a really sound commercial proposition, you know, it has suppliers, it has customers, and the financials or the forecasts are robust. That's the first check. So it's got to make sense for you, and it's got to resonate, make sense, and also can withstand, based on your assumptions, different cycles. The second thing that in a startup business or a small business that everybody has to make this trade-off is how much of it do you want to own or control? Because sometimes when you set up a new business, you may have to give some of the ownership away to another capital provider or someone like that, or investor, to actually get the business moving. And a lot of businesses make that mistake that they try and do it all themselves, may or may not be able to get finance from a bank or someone else, and then, you know, they hit a tough point in a cycle, interest rates spike, and then they're in a bit of trouble. So think about funding yourself, not just from a bank, but also investment or capital. But back to the banking part of it, have a robust business plan. Don't make it too complex. But on top of that, make sure you consult and get in touch with your bank early. Just like I said before, make sure the bank goes on that journey with you, and if they are uncomfortable with it, just challenge them to say why and what they require to make it work. So often customers say, the bank declined my loan. I can see people nodding. But they don't actually sit down. Well, can you exactly tell me why, so I can go away and work out how I can actually mitigate or reduce that risk?
Julie, do you have a tip on that?
Yeah, actually, I might just mention something about business plans, because I think a lot of people, when they look at the business plans, especially you know, banks and government bodies, etc., you know, everybody sort of produces like a template, and people look at the template and they just think, oh no, I've got to fill all these boxes in. It just looks awful. There's all these questions, and it just makes the heart sink. And I'm not picking on you at all, David. I just mean generally, when one looks at a template, my heart sinks. And I do business plans all the time. You just think, oh, there's so much information. And I think the important bit to remember is all a business plan is how are you going to make money out of this business? What are the ingredients you're going to put together? You know, who are you going to sell it to? How are you going to be able to sell it to basically make money? And if you start with that and think, what are all the bits that we need to put together, then the whole thought of a business plan is not so it's not so awful. But actually, that's really what people like banks need to know. They need to know actually what is it you need to borrow the money for, what are you actually going to do, and how is that going to convert into money in the future? And I think that with the big sort of templates about business plans, we lose that, and we start thinking, oh gosh, you know, there's the market's potentially 50 million people, and I can get 1% of that, and you know, you start doing all these little calculations that they ask for, and lose sight of what are we actually going to do. I've talked to lots of people who've been knocked back by banks, and they've been so vague as to what they were actually going to use the money for. It's just been, oh, we think we need a few $100,000, and we'd like to hire a marketing person, and we'd like to hire this person. But what's that marketing person going to do? How's that going to convert into sales? There's not enough rigor behind it. And it's not just the bank that needs the rigor, it's you need the rigor too. Because if you can actually do that and show where you're going to put the money and how it's going to convert into a successful business, then you'll have mitigated your own risk. And that's really, and it's using that then as the basis of a conversation with the bank to say, you know, the business plan then shows that you understand your business, and it's the conversation that you then have, which is the thing that gets you over the line.
Yep.